Got dressed at 8 and 3 hours later it's melted, so looks a little weird now.
Yes.
But hell of a road trip, 3-1. When you finally get back in the gym after a successful road trip, what is it? What is it that you're emphasizing, you're cleaning up? What is it?
Well, I think it's always just trying to, continue to find ways to get better and never be satisfied. It was a good road trip, but obviously there are so many things that we can improve upon. Offensively, the turnovers are still way too high. Our transition defense has to improve, as well as our paint defense. It's really easy. When you look at our 9 wins and our 4 losses, the numbers jump off the page. We had a good practice today, didn't do anything live. We have finally a game where we have the rest advantage, if you will. So they played tonight in Utah. I begged our guys to watch the game, which most guys don't do. I said there's a thing called League Pass, so you can actually watch the game for free. So hopefully our guys do that. But it was just trying to reinforce, all the things that have allowed us to get off to the start that we have.
Michael, you've talked a lot about defense being a calling card for this franchise. Can you give me a sense for the defensive identity this team has 13 games in, and how is the process going?
I think overall it's going well. Our biggest challenge defensively is consistency. As I just mentioned, I'm a big believer in making sure your players understand why you're winning and why you're losing. And in our 4 losses, we have, I think, the worst defense in the NBA. Give up 130 points a night, over 50 from the field, over 40 from 3, and over 20 on the offensive glass. So it's just, can we find ways to be even more consistent than we have been? When you take a step back and consider we've added 8 new players, we're reintegrating Jamal Murray and Michael Porter, and we've had a very tough schedule early. To be 9-4 right now is just tremendous, and our players deserve so much credit in terms of their approach, their mindset, and willingness to find a way to come together as quickly as possible.
Good. Coach, before the road trip, you talked about how you wanted to bring defense on the road. You wanted to bring another level of focus and intensity. Have you learned anything new about the team since going out this last road trip?
I think, you go 3-1 on the road trip, and you have a game in Chicago where we won every quarter and never trailed. You have a game in Indiana where you're down by 18 points and come back and win. And you have a game in San Antonio that's kind of back and forth the whole game, and we managed to close out the game. And obviously Boston was the one game where we were just not prepared to play against a quality opponent. But when you can win in different ways in this business, that usually bodes well for you. You can win close games, you can win when you're behind, and to have a game like Chicago at the end of a long road trip, just to come out from Jump Street and play all the way through at a high level was tremendous. So, and we've had guys out with injury, we've had guys out with COVID protocols, continue to be a next man up mentality, make no excuses, and we've had other guys step up, which is always fun to see.
Like the last game, you staggered Jamal with that bench shooter. Do you want to get to a point where you can kind of play the matchup and pick whoever, or do you want that to become kind of Michael's thing?
The way I'm approaching it now, Vinny, is it's almost going to be, Bruce is going to come in around the 6-minute mark, and it's going to be for Michael or Jamal. It's been Michael every night, but if Michael gets off to a great start, I don't want to take him out. I don't want to lose that rhythm. So one of them have to come out. So we'll just kind of feel what the better option is right now, and then we can get Michael back in or Jamal back in to close that quarter and start the next quarter. And it's worked fairly well the last couple of games, and with guys like Bones, it's such a big part of that second lineup. So now I feel like I've been playing Bruce a ton of minutes, and aside from his turnovers last game, last 2 games he's been really good in terms of his productivity, his rebounding, his playmaking, his defense. So that's why it's so valuable to have a guy like Bruce Brown.
What are the noticeable differences between those 2 lineups, with Bruce Brown in for Jamal, Bruce Brown in for Michael Porter? I know it's small sample size, but what are you seeing different from those 2 looks?
Oh, I don't know. It's I'll be making up an answer right now. I see this. As I dissected it, it really was more about just, if Michael Porter's having a game like he had in Chicago, shooting into a huge hoop, let's let him run. So let's keep on feeding that. Feed the fire, and then other guys can get in when they get in. But what I love about it, whether it's getting Michael or Jamal out, it doesn't really matter, because DeAndre, Jeff, Bruce have been constants. Without Bones, I thought Christian played really well in Chicago. And I thought Jamal playing with that second unit allows him to get off the ball a little bit. And that's one thing when we had him and Monte in the past together in that second unit. Now Jamal can kind of take his point guard hat off and try to be, okay, now it's going to be more of a scorer and let Monte run our team. And I think you see that a little bit when Jamal is out there with Bruce as well.
One thing I'm curious about, and I don't know if this is a bad thing, but the team offense is through the roof, but offensive rebounding is down again like it was last year. That was a hallmark for the first 6 years, I think, of the Jokic era. Do you have a theory of why that might be? Is it an emphasis to getting back on defense at that expense?
You know what? That's a really good question. I think part of it is that, we've made improving our transition defense a huge point of emphasis to mixed results. I tell the Hubie Brown story all the time. So we're not crashing, and sometimes we're still not getting back. Where are we? We got to make a decision to be one or the other. Right now, I would err on the side of getting more people back. Obviously, in the past, to your point, Adam, we were an elite offensive rebounding team. We were averaging probably 13, 14 points a night on the offensive glass. But if we can be not as effective there, but more effective in transition, getting back and setting our defense, then I'd be okay with that.
Hey, Coach, bringing in Ryan Saunders this year gives you 3 former coaches' sons on the same staff. A, how unique is that? B, what does that help you with your vision?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, like Wes's dad, when he was here, so was myself. It was David Adelman, Wes Unseld, he wore many hats in his NBA post-playing career. But to bring Ryan in, I've been close to Ryan for a long time. When I got fired in Sacramento, Flip Saunders, his dad, took me in and treated me like we'd known each other for 20 years, which speaks to the man that Flip Saunders was. And Ryan is a chip off the block. He's just a high character person, a just tireless worker and high character man, family man. So to have coaches' sons together who have been around the game their whole lives is pretty unique. To have that many on one staff, but for me, it's just putting together the right people on the staff to challenge me, to help this team become the best that they can be.
Michael, I just saw you talking a little bit with Mike as we came in. Is that just reinforcing what he's been doing so well, specifically in Chicago?
Yeah, it's as I often mention, like when I get on guys and hold them accountable, that's fine, that's my job. But I think it's also just as important, if not more important, for positive reinforcement, to reinforce it so they feel validated. And I think, Michael, you can get caught up in just the numbers, right? 18 points, 6.5 rebounds, 50 from the field, 48 from 3. Those numbers are incredible. More important to me, deeper than the numbers, are the fact that offensively, like I can count on one hand how many shots that he's taken that you can say, probably not a great shot. His willingness to space and move and cut without the basketball has been tremendous. Creating a two-man game with Nikola Jokic is so important. And then defensively, man, like he's disciplined. He's giving forth effort. And I told him, I said, that's all I ever want from you. If you try and somebody scores on you, so what? That's why they have scoreboards. Teams are going to score. But just keep on trying to play the right way offensively and giving forth great effort in defense, and the sky's the limit because he is just such an efficient player. And it's just fun to watch. I'm happy for him and very proud of him.
Michael Moore, Coach.
Yeah, Harrison, come on.
Going into Boston and playing a team that looks like a championship contender, did you learn anything specific about where you guys need to improve that maybe you didn't think about going into that game?
Well, I feel, not to make any excuses, I felt we were not ready to play. And if I could do it over again, I probably would have had our team stay the night in Indianapolis instead of flying out at 2 a.m., getting to the hotel at 4:30. I think there was definitely a carryover from that. But what I learned is if we want to be a team that can beat a team that was in NBA Finals, we have to be ready to play, and we have to give incredible effort, and we have to be a lot more physical and tough. Now, we beat the defending world champions early in the season, and in Boston, obviously, was not our night. Give them credit; they're a very good team, and we'll have to do a lot better job the next time we play in Minneapolis.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.